we probably should move on to the climate change policy activism. And actually, why don't we go ahead and Ryan, why don't you tell us about your group and what you guys have been doing?
Okay, as you mentioned before, I'm the director of Clean Air Arkansas. I'm fairly new at the game. I took over in July in place of my friend Maggie Bailey. In the past, Clean Air Arkansas has been really dedicated to fighting coal. Coal is one of the most devastating, environmentally devastating energy sources, fossil fuels that we use here in the United States. She did a lot to fight against specifically the Turk plant that's being built in Hempstead County. Since I've taken over, we've been more focused on raising our public image, bringing awareness to the issues that we're facing with climate change, and specifically coming out in strong support of the congressional bill, the American Clean Energy and Security Act. Congress passed it back in June. Now the same bill is going to the Senate, and we're trying to rally support for that bill so that we finally have some real policy, some real dedication to making a difference fighting against climate change here in the U.S.
Okay, and Ryan, you're also working on climate change activism. Tell us a little bit about your job and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I work for a group called One Sky. We're based out of Washington, D.C. We're a nonprofit organization. And we're, like Ryan said, we're also working on the ACES bill, also known as the Cap and Trade. We call it the Clean Energy and Green Jobs bill. This is the biggest environmental bill that our generation has ever seen. And this is a strong bill, and we really need to pass this before we have an international treaty in Copenhagen in December. Like Ryan said, it's already passed the House of Representatives, so we're halfway there. We barely passed it in the House, and it's going to be a tough fight in the Senate. But this is going to maximize clean energy jobs for America by creating programs that create clean energy jobs and train workers to fill them. We're talking about weatherizing buildings, people that don't even need a high school diploma to do some of these jobs. I mean, with the caulk gun and weather stripping, saving up to 30% of energy per building. All over the United States, and that's a huge effort right there to weatherize buildings, and it's a no-brainer. I mean, to have energy inefficient buildings, I mean, first of all, it's expensive for the consumer or the company, and we're going to be putting people back to work in a bad economy. So the green jobs is a really important part of this bill. A lot of people, especially the opponents, are not focusing on it. They're only talking about the cap and trade portion. Right. The other part is taking serious steps towards cutting dangerous global warming air pollution as soon as possible. This bill seeks 20% by 2020. That's a pretty good goal. That's what science says we need to do in order to get back down to 350 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And we really just need to transition away from the big oil and the dirty coal of the past and move towards a clean energy economy of the future. With sustainable renewable energy, solar panels, photovoltaics, geothermal, wave power, clean energy that we can make here in America. Allow farmers to sell it back to the grid. And I mean, this bill is so comprehensive; it covers so many different issues.
Right.
And
so, what do you think the chances of it passing the Senate are?
It's hard to say. There's a lot of senators that are still on the fence. I'm working in the state of Arkansas, so we're primarily focused on Senator Blanche Lincoln. We're also working with Mark Pryor, our two U.S. senators, but they're not very open to it. They're definitely, kind of more leaning against cap and trade, but they support 90% of the rest of the bill. They just have a problem with the cap and trade part. They think it's going to drive food costs up and gas prices up. There's no evidence to say that will happen.
Is there something viewers at home could do to help maybe with this effort?
Absolutely. We really need to put pressure, especially this week. This bill may be coming out of John Kerry's committee. Boxer and Kerry's committee. And so we really need to make as many phone calls as possible to Senator Blanche Lincoln and Mark Pryor. One Sky, the group I work for, we have a great website set up. If you go to onesky.org/call, and you go to that website, you type in your phone number, you type in your zip code, and your phone's going to ring, and it's going to connect you to your senator. So we really need just people saying, calling their senators saying, look, we're getting 60% of our oil from the Middle East. Right. I mean, we should have been doing this 30 years ago. We need clean power, renewable power here in America.
So you gave me that number for that switchboard. Maybe you could give it to the people at home in case they might want to call.
Yeah, let me do that in a second because I don't have it right in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they could visit your website and find out.
Absolutely.
Okay. In terms of climate change science, there's something I was wanting to bring up. There was actually a 2007 paper in the journal Science that said model predictions of an imminent transition to a more arid climate in the southwestern North America. So it sounds like this is really getting serious. We're talking about imminent scenarios where they're talking about potentially a Dust Bowl type scenario in the southwest. And so we really need to be concerned about this. I mean, because a lot of our crops are grown in parts of the Southwest, and there was actually this, who was it, Michael Pollan, I think, was talking about we really need to shift to a more diversified agricultural system because of this. I guess that sort of distracts from the climate issue, but
I don't think it does at all.
I mean,
agriculture is fundamentally tied to climate change. That's going to be the first sector that
that
really has an impact for the average American, for the average citizen of anywhere on this planet. Climate change is going to affect our food, and there's likely going to be less of it, at least in the times that it takes us to adapt to the imminent changes that climate change is going to bring about. Along the lines that you were mentioning that the Southwest is going to become more arid, I read in a book called 6 Degrees. The name of the author is escaping me right now. The Midwest, actually, with only a 10% decrease in rainfall, it's only 1 to 2 inches of topsoil that we do majority of our farming from right now. With a 10% decrease in rainfall, it's highly probable that all that topsoil will blow away, just like the Dust Bowl in the 1930s. And more locally, this region, the American Southeast, the author suggests, based on science, that it may transition towards more of a climate like India experiences, where we have seasons of rain and wet and dry seasons, essentially. So there are some pretty serious shifts in climate patterns that